שלמה פרג'ון יקרה. הדיומה הרכב בנבדה בלאס וגאס, כתלי ضيفهم يقرأ رابي يوسف كانون مقام بكموشا بلاقيني هركي وفرقلي كتلي إذاحتو رابثو الوعام أثورويو موخا أبعنو مشايني كمو شيولي. Ladies and gentlemen, today I am honored to have here Rabee Yousip Canon. Welcome, Rabee.
Thank you, Malfana, thank you.
Rabee, we met a few weeks ago. We are very good friends now.
Absolutely, yeah. I liked you, you liked me, maybe.
Yeah, sure.
And we became friends, yes.
Sure.
Yeah, we talk a little bit.
And I really, Rabee, noticed that you have a lot of knowledge about our people, and I respect this knowledge. I respect you. I wanted to share it with our Assyrian sisters and brothers.
I'll be happy to answer all the questions that you have. I am sorry that we have two different dialects. It's very shame, it's very inappropriate, but what can we do? We have to speak in English because I don't understand your dialect and you don't understand mine. So for our Parjane Mukhbe, we will speak with you and talk with you in English. That's the only way we can communicate.
Yes, Rabee. Many people around the world, they have many dialects.
Yeah.
Also, we are a people. We have different dialects.
That's true.
Eastern Assyrian dialect, we say Shlama, and in my dialect, we say Shlomo. It is the same language. But again, it is a pleasure, honor for me to meet you. Rabee, where were you born?
I was born in the city of Nineveh, today's Mosul. I was born in 1942. And the late Qasha Yusuf Canon, he baptized me. And he named me Yusuf after his name. Because my mother wanted to name me William, and he didn't like that. Yeah. Yes, then we moved. My father was a customs police, Gumruk policeman. Yes. So he moved around a lot. He moved from Mosul to Shaklawa to Rawandus, and my mother was tired of that. And at the end, we settled in Dayana, which is an Assyrian village near Rawandus. It's in the governorate of Erbil, very north. You pass Gali Ali Bek and you will see Dayana on your left. And I was raised there. My childhood was in Dayana.
Do you remember everything from your childhood?
I remember every moment of it because my best times was in Dayana. Why? Because Dayana was a majority Assyrian. There were minority Kurds and also some Jewish families. There were about 8 Jewish families in Dayana. One of them was my friend. His name was Yehuda Eliyahu. Yeah, a Jewish person. And I have many good Kurds friends also in Dayana, but the majority was Assyrians, and we were dominating the village.
How many Assyrians there were at that time?
A friend of mine drew the map of Dayana, and there were 232 houses in Dayana. 162 people, houses were Assyrians, and the rest were Kurds and Jews. So we were the majority. So you can say about a few, if 2016 you multiplied by the average of 5, you will say we have about 800 to 1,000 people in Dayana.
Can you name some of your friends when you were very young?
Yes, I can name one of my friends. He recently passed. His name was Shmuel. He passed about 10 days ago.
I'm sorry.
And I have another friend. My first friend was Nestorus. He is still in Chicago. Yeah, those are my first friends that I knew in Diana. Well, some other neighbors that I knew. I went to Diana in 2012 with a friend of mine, and I asked about some of my friends, and every time I asked about how was so and so, they told me that he passed away. He died. So my friend Horm said, "Stop it! Stop asking because it's very depressing. All your friends are dead." So I stopped asking.
Rabee, at that time, Assyrians in your village, how they were making their lives?
Most of them were peasants, were farmers. They farmed grain, they farmed rice, they farmed sesame, and they also farmed some vegetable like watermelon, cantaloupes, and cucumbers. And also they had some gardens of fruit like apples, apricots, peaches, and they had also other kind of fruit. And they sold it. But some of them were merchants. They were merchants. What they did, the merchants, they had small stores, and they purchased rice. They purchased rice and coal, like the coal from Kurds, and wood, burning wood. And they sold it to the merchants coming from big cities, like from Erbil, from Kirkuk, from Mosul, even from Baghdad. Those merchants from the big cities, they came to Diana, and they exchanged. They gave them sugar, tea, clothing, and they took from them the agricultural things. From Diana, from those merchants. And there are about 6 or 7 merchants that I know. And there was at least 1 or 2, they had coffee shops in Diana.
Were there some poor and wealthy people there?
Well, yes, those who were merchants are the wealthiest one. But you don't recognize that in the street. We are all the same way. We are all dressed the same thing. We are all behaving the same way. There was no classes. This is rich. This is poor. We were one class, one people. We are all friends. And we are in the good harmony. We live in good harmony among ourselves, and also with the Kurds. We lived in a good harmony. We didn't have any problem with them.
Yeah, I was thinking to ask this question, but I will come to this question. Rabee, at that time, who were the Assyrians kind of leaders in your village?
In my village, we have Mukhtar.
The mayor of the village.
Mukhtar, if I remember his name, Tuma.
Mukhtar Tuma.
Yeah, he was the Mukhtar of Diana. And the Kurds have their own Mukhtar. I forgot his name. Actually, I think it's Abdul Qadir. And the Jews has a rabbi who was their leader. I forgot his name too.
How many churches did we have at that time?
We had only one church in Diana.
What was the name?
Margi Wargis.
Margi Wargis.
Yeah, St. George. Yeah.
And Kasha
Philippus. It was at the time Kasha Philippus, and he was ordained to bishop. He became Mariuchana. He became a bishop of Diana. His name, by the name of Mariuchana.
Any Assyrian school, language school?
Well, no. The school, what happened is Kasha Philippus, who was ordained, as I said, to Mariuchana. Every summer, he taught us Assyrian language in the church. So I started learning Assyrian language when I was 5, 6 years old. And also there was a man who knew very good English. His name was Yelda. He is the father of Christo. Christo, one of the leaders of the Kurdish KDP, Kurdish Democratic Party, in the top leadership, Christo. His father, Yelda, he taught us English in summer. So I learned 1, 2, 3, 4 languages when I was 10 years old. I learned Assyrian from my family and the church. I learned English from Rabbi Yelda and at school. I learned Arabic from school, and I learned Kurdish because my friends were Kurds, and the school also taught us some Kurdish. So when I was 10 years old, I was speaking 4 languages.
How was the relationship, Rabee, between Assyrians, Arabs, Kurds, Jews in your village?
Yeah, very good. We lived in harmony with the Arabs, with the Kurds. They had very good relations, even the elderly one. They were sitting in the cafe shops and playing backgammon, playing domino together. And even when we had a party, like when we have a wedding party, they joined us and we joined them. We lived in very good relations.
Any conflict that you remember?
Not with the people of the village, but those who were tribes, moving tribes. They came through Diana, back and forth. They were, they call it, they didn't have a special town. They moved. In the summer, they went to the north. In the winter, they went south. So when they came through Diana, there was a conflict with them sometimes, but mainly it was between children because we had a fight with them and the adults got involved and they had fights. Otherwise, no, we didn't have any conflict with them.
I understand.
No, not with the Kurds, no.
I understand. And when was the first time you came with the idea that we are Assyrians and we should get our rights?
I was affected a lot by my brother-in-law, my sister's husband. His name was Odishu. He was a member of the Hujada Aturaya, that was established in Habaniya. He was living in Baghdad. So he was a member there. And from him, I learned a lot about
Odishu, his last name?
Odishu Rihana.
Odishu Yohanna.
Rihana.
Rihana.
Yes. He was very good Assyrian. And he affected me a lot. Also, the stories that I heard from my father, my mother, some of my father's friends. I remember one of them, who was somehow related to my mother. When he came to our house and sat with my father, and they had a sip of arak together, he started crying. He remembered his mother, because when he was a little kid, about 3 years old or 4 years old, when they were migrating from Urmi to Bakuba, on the way his mother got sick. They couldn't take her. She couldn't walk, so they just left her there and moved. And he remembered that, and he started crying and singing about his mother. It affected me a lot, this thing. This guy and Odishu, my brother-in-law. But the one who really seeded this nationality on me was, in Baghdad, I met Dr. Malko Amir Khas. He was one of the rebels in Iran, the Mahabat movement, Jumhuriyat Mahabat of Kurds and Assyrians together. He fled Iran and came to Iraq as a political asylee. So they assigned him to remain in Kut, which was south of Baghdad, but he couldn't move out of Kut, so we didn't know him. until the revolution of 1958, when there was a turn from monarchy into republic. He came to Baghdad, and I met him.
How old you were at that time?
I was in my 16, 17 years old.
And he was one of the founder of the Muhabbat?
No, he was one of the leaders.
One of the leaders?
Yeah, one of the leaders.
What does Muhabbat mean?
Muhabbat, it was Jumhuriyat Muhabbat. It was a Kurdish revolution. It was in Iran. The name, I think the name of the city was Muhabbat. I don't know.
Okay.
But the revolution, they revolted against the Shah, and they formed their own republic.
So they were Assyrian also with them?
Yeah, the Assyrians were with them, and this man, Malko Amir Khas, was representing Assyrian in that leadership. So he was wanted by the Iranian government, so he fled to Iraq and to ask political asylum. That was in if I remember, 1948 maybe, or maybe before that. My memory is not that good. Yeah.
What was he telling you, Rabee?
He seated me, he told me about the history, about the people who he met, Assyrians, like he knew Binyamin Arsanis. He even told me about Freydun Aturaya. He told me about the movement of the Urmian ancient during World War I. He was, of course, he was not born. I'm not sure he was born, but he was a little kid. But he told me a lot of stories about the movement of the Assyrian movement of those people, especially Freydun Aturaya and Binyamin Arsanis. And he always talked about our rights, that we are lost, we are helpless because we don't have a voice in the countries that we are living in. That is the main thing that I told him, I learned from this guy.
And you were 16, 17 years old. Were you sharing this with your friends?
Yes. Now, this is what happened. In 1958, there was a coup in Iraq. And they demolished monarchy, and they built a new, they call it democratic, but it's not actually democratic. They made a republic of Iraq. And the leader was Abdul Karim Qasim. That was the man who Assyrians liked very much. He was very fair leader of Iraq. That was the best time that the Iraqis lived under his leadership, especially the Assyrians. They liked him a lot. When this revolution, after this revolution, we noticed that the Arabs came up with their slogans of United Arab, the Union of Arab, Al-Wahda al-Arabiya. And the Kurds were, Mullah Mustafa Barzani was invited to Iraq. He was kicked out of Iraq. He was living in Russia. They invited him. He came back to Iraq, and they were talking about Kurdistan, and they made a flag, and they were singing about Kurdistan. And we were sitting there, have nothing. So I had some friends who were really educated, like they educated at that time. I mean, they finished high school, and some of them were in the college. I was a college graduate at that time. I was in the college at that time. And we start talking about ourselves. Why aren't we like, why aren't we talking? Where is our voice? Then we realized that after the massacre of Semele, the Assyrians were silent. They silenced the Assyrians because that massacre was very bad. Very, very terrible massacre. They killed hundreds of Assyrian civilians, women, children. And the Assyrians kept silent, and any time we talk about politics, our fathers, especially our elder one who lived through that massacre, they thought, shh, keep silent, don't talk, don't do anything. But then our generation, we were a new generation, we didn't know anything about Somalia, we didn't see the Somalia. So we start talking that we have the right, like any other Iraqis, we have to do something about it. So we agreed on one thing. We agreed that we raised the question of how do we do this? So we agreed that if there's a place that the all educated Assyrians get together, maybe something will grow up from there, will produce something. And we came with the idea of the Assyrian Cultural Club in 1961. So I went to the Ministry of Interior Affairs. I took a copy of the law of societies, and they read it. And all what they wanted, if we have 10 people, right, make the bylaws for themselves, sign it, and present it to the government, and we will have your club. So we made a meeting, 10 of us, and we put the bylaws, we signed it, and we applied to the Minister of Interior to be licensed. According to the law in Iraq at that time, you wait 30 days. If it's not rejected, if your request is not rejected officially, you can start your club. So we waited 29 days. We didn't hear anything. On the 30th day, we got a letter saying that you cannot have it. You cannot. We are not agreeing to your request. And the reason they put there, let me say it in Arabic, they say, لدى المؤسسين أغراض مستورة غير ظاهرة في النظام الداخلي, which means those founders, they have something hiding that's not written on their bylaws.
Did you hide anything?
Well, no. What did we hide? We had nothing. Everything was there. So at that time, and it was Abdul Karim Qasim was better than the other dictators. So we had the right to appeal. There was a court called Tamyiz, which is like the appeal, like we have the Supreme Court in America, something like that. So we appealed the decision of the Ministry of Interior. And also we have to wait 15 days. If 15 days we didn't hear anything, then we have the right to start the club. And the 13th day or 14th day, we got a letter from that court saying we agree with the minister that you have some undeclared ideas it's not appearing in your bylaws. So that idea was dead. So we didn't know what to do. And then we thought about doing it underground. That's when we started our underground organization.
What was the name of your underground organization?
Well, we got together, those 10 of us, and we said it will be, I and some of others members said let us start underground organization. Some of them said yes, some of them said no. So I said, okay, let us make it secret ballot. Everyone writes his name and write yes or no, just yes or no. And we'll put it in a bag and give it to one of us. And they agreed on that. So everyone wrote yes, no, and his name. Yes or no and his name. And they gave the bag to me. They said, you take it. So I went home. Anybody that said yes, I contacted him. So we started the organization.
How many were they?
We started with 7.
Any names could you mention?
So we started with the name of Hujada Hirutha Atoreta, which means unity and freedom of Assyria. But that was not final. We said until we make the first conference, then in the conference we will find the real name that will be established, the name. Because we were only 7 and we started from there. So each one started collecting people, talking to people. So after a couple of months, we got together again and we created the Politburo, Maktab al-Siyasi. The Politburo, we were 5 of us, Politburo. And they all unanimously elected me to be the Secretary General of the Hujada, of that organization.
Which year was it, Rabee?
That was in 1961.
61. And can you mention their names, maybe?
Yes, I can tell you the names. Some of them are dead and some of them are alive, but I can tell. We had Sada Mikhail, who passed away, Ruwal, I forgot his last name. He passed away a long time ago. Georgis Zaya, he is living in I think he's in Australia now, and myself. So there was one of them also. We added another one. His name was Shamasha. Oh gosh, my memory is fading. Shamasha. We call him Shamasha, but he has a name. He has the name Shamasha, but because we call him Shamasha, it became Shamasha. Anyway, he was also added to what he was living. He was ordained to Kasha after that, and he passed away in San Diego. Yeah, those are the 5 members of the Politburo.
What was the goal of Hujada or Hirutha?
We have to ask first of all, we have to ask for our basic rights of a nationality as Assyrians. Which were just, we can have our own schools and wherever we are a majority. We can have our language taught in the university. Why not? We must have a radio station in our radio, because in Baghdad radio station they were speaking Kurdish. So we said, why not in Assyrian? We can have we can publish a magazine and books in our language. So mainly to be recognized as a nationality in Iraq. They call us just a church. They looked at us as the church members, that's all, not a nationality. They didn't recognize us as a nationality. So that's what we were fighting for in the beginning. We didn't have like big dreams. We didn't do like Don Quixote things. We didn't jump beyond our abilities. So we were asking for basic things.
How many years did this last?
It lasted 5 years.
5 years. Can you tell us how was the reaction of the Assyrians towards this organization?
It was very, very secret. Not many people knew about it. We were very much strict to only people that we know, that they will not talk, because if they knew, because there was a law in Baghdad at that time that any organization, underground political organization, if they know about it, they'll be executed. Execution, period. So we were very, very secrecy in our handling of things, in our movement, and our talking. So they didn't know much about it. The people didn't know much about it. But we heard that some Assyrians were in the Kurdistan fighting with the Kurdish rebels. So we read them a letter to them that, why don't you join us? So we can have a front, our Assyrian front there. And we get positive and negative reaction. We get positive reaction from Hurmuz, Malikchikyu. And he said, I'll be happy to join you. And he became a member of our organization. But we contacted Margaret and Francois Hariri, who were also with the Kurds.
Margaret
George. They said, we are happy to hear that we have an underground organization and we support you, but we can do better things to the Assyrians through the leadership of the KDP, through the leadership of the Kurdistan. So leave us alone. You do your work. God bless you. We support you, but we will not join you. But Hurmuz said that he will join us, and all that he needs, if he can support him, he will have his unit fighters to be independent from the Kurdish movement if we can support him financially. So we started collecting money, but it was not easy, Malfana. It was not easy at that time in Baghdad to go ask for people, for money from people. It was not easy. It was very hard. So what we did, we were printing some, what do they call it?
Flyers?
No, not flyers. They're cards, like birthday cards.
Okay. Calendars.
Calendar, and sell it. And Christmas cards, and sell it to people, and collect money and send it to them. But then we didn't have our own letters to print. So we used a printer from some other people, and they were also afraid to accept anything that we print. So one day we get a letter from Mardan Khan, who was in Tehran. Mardan Khan wrote a letter saying, if somebody comes here, we can give him letters, Assyrian letters. And the letter was given to me, and I called the Politburo to a meeting, and I said, what should we do? And they said, okay, so one of them would go. Who? They said, you. Why me? They said, because you are a teacher, and on summer you have all the time free. We cannot take time free, and you can go. So they told me, you have to go. So in 1965, I went to Iran. 65 or 64, and then my memory is fading. I went to Iran, and they gave me 200 kilos of letters. I brought them back to Baghdad, and then it was easy to print all these things, easier to print all these things. I tried, when I was in Iran, I tried to talk to some leaders there to help our front.
Assyrian leaders?
Assyrian leaders,
Any
yes.
names, Rabbi? Do you
Well, I spoke with
Dr.
Dr. Wilson Bet Mansour, and I spoke with the he was a doctor. He was, I think he was a member of the Assyrian committee in Tehran. And I spoke with the Ashu Murad Khan, who was the head of the Assyrian Cultural Center. And they said, we can arrange that they can. I told them, if you can make the money go to Diana, I have friends in Diana, and we can transfer that to Hormuz Malikchiku, the leader of the organization. Of course, at that time, Hormuz was killed, and instead he was Talyashinu. And we sent Talyashinu there. Our organization sent Talyashinu to go instead of Hormuz. And that was after we took the okay from Mullah Mustafa Barzani. I met Mullah Mustafa Barzani in early 1964.
Where did you meet him?
I went to Salamania. From Salamania, I went to Koistanjak. From Koistanjak, we went through mountains to a small village. I really forgot the name of it.
Were you by yourself?
No, me and Shamasha Yaqub. Now I remember the name. Shamasha Yaqub was with me, yes. So I met Mullah Mustafa. It was not an official meeting. We didn't sign anything. There was no letter exchange.
What was your discussion about with Mullah Mustafa Barzani?
He told me, we presented ourselves. He was very happy to meet us. He said to me that anything we accomplish, Italy for both of us, for Assyrians and Kurds together. That's what he told me.
Was he sincere? How did you feel it?
I felt sincerity in his words. But you know, I never trust politicians. Maybe he was a good politician. I don't know. But I felt sincerity with him. The only thing that I didn't like, at the time, he put Margaret under house arrest. He didn't let her out. And I said, we don't like that. Why?
Did you tell him?
Yes, I told him. We don't like Margaret. She was one of the good fighters for your cause. Why is she under house arrest? He said that she was doing some undesirable moves. All that he said.
Did you understand anything?
No, I didn't. But I said, according to what I believe, she should be tried in a court, and there should be witnesses, not just a word from the leadership. He didn't like that, but there was no more conversation about it.
For how long she was under house arrest?
After maybe 2 years or 3 years, she was assassinated.
By whom?
In her house.
By
the Kurdish leaders, by the Kurdish members of the party. As far as I know, she was assassinated by the KDP people.
And we don't know yet
I
why.
don't know who was that, because there was not only one. There was, I think she was in her house, and at night they just opened fire on her and killed her. Nobody knows who was there. Nobody knows. She just was killed.
Any other topic that you spoke to Mullah Mustafa Barzani that you remember, Rabee?
Well, he asked me that if you can ask Malik Yaqub of Syria, who was living at that time, he was living in Canada. He said, tell Malik Yaqub to come sit by me, and together we will fight. Together we will, whatever we get, it will be shared between me and him. So I said, okay, we will let him know. He said, anything we get, it will be for the Assyrians and the Kurds. If Malik Yaqub comes, we accept anyone. You send us here. So I said, we will send you somebody instead of to replace Hormuz, who was assassinated, who was killed in the fighting with, I think, with the Iraqi government or the Syrian government. I don't know exactly. He said, okay, anybody that you send, he will be welcome to take the job of Hormuz and to lead the unit, the Assyrian unit that he has. There was an Assyrian unit, about 60 or 70 fighters. So when I came back to Baghdad, I came back to Kirkuk, and they asked Georgis Melikchiku, who was the brother of Hormuz Melikchiku, and said, who do you suggest? He said, there's he was an officer, a Assyrian officer in the levy, in the Habaniya levy. His name was Talia Shinu. He was Rab Imma or Rab Trimma, something like that. Means Rab Trimma means leader of 200 or leader of 100. I am not sure. He said, if you talk to him, he'll be willing to go. So I went to Baghdad. I met with Talia. He said, I will go, but you take care of my wife and my daughter. I said, okay, we will take care of them. So he went and he replaced Hormuz. And every month we sent some money to his family in Baghdad.
Rabee, to go back to the organization you founded, Hujada of Hirutha, lasted 5 years. And during these activities, the central government got any news about you, what you were doing?
No.
No.
No, not the central government. Not even Assyrians knew about it. Not many Assyrians knew about it. We talked to some personalities. For example, I personally went to Rabee Yousip Canon, and I told him, I said, Jesse, we have an organization like that. He said, be careful, don't cause another massacre. I said, we might be killed, but will not cause any massacre to our people. We might harm ourselves, but not our people. Don't worry about it, Jesse. He said, God bless you. He said, I am not with you. I said, I'm not asking you to be with us. I just asking your blessing and just letting you to know. He said, God bless you. And that was it. And we also spoke to some personalities in Kirkuk, in Mosul, and in Baghdad. Some known personalities, I would consider, but that was very secret. And we asked them not to let that get out, the word get out to other people, because we didn't have our first conference. We didn't have it yet. Until we get our first conference, we should be keeping this very, very secret.
Rabee, the founder of Hujada of Hirutha, from which church were they members?
That's a very good question, because when I left my meeting with Mustafa Barzani, I saw a priest walking in that.
Who was he?
And I asked one of those guards, I said, who's that priest? He said, this is Qasha Pols Bedare. Qasha Pols Bedare. I said, oh my God. So I ran after him and I caught him. And Salam al Qasha, he said, I said, I am from Hujada Hirutha Authority. He said, oh, I heard about you. I heard that you are coming. He said, who are you? I said, as I told you, we are Hujada Hirutha Authority. He said, do you have Chaldeans with you? I said, I know one, but that's it. any Suryayo with you? I said, I don't think so. And he said, why? Why do you keep it for only yourself? I said, because they're not coming. Why? I said, we are asking them. They said, they are telling us that we are chauvinist. We are not with you, we are Iraqis. We just work for Iraq, and you have very chauvinist ideas and things like that. So they're not coming. I said, can you teach us, tell us what to do, how to talk to them? He said, I don't know. You go back and just do your best to get Syriani and Chaldean with you in your organization. Otherwise, all your job will be nothing.
From which church he was?
I think he was Chaldean, for a Catholic church. I'm not sure.
So he wanted all churches.
He said all the churches should be involved with you guys.
Okay.
Get all of them, otherwise you will get nothing. You will get nothing. All your job will, all your work will be fruitless. You will get nothing. But it was very hard.
Did you try?
We tried hard, but after that it didn't last long. We were caught.
How?
The whole 5 members of the organization were arrested in one day.
By whom?
By the government, by the secret police.
How did they know about you?
That's another good question. Okay, as I said, we used to send money to our fighters, Talyashino. The man or the boy who took the money to the front, to the Talyashino's front, he gave the money. On his way back, he was arrested in Mosul. I think somebody there was in the front, in the Talyashino's front, there was one of the soldiers who betrayed us.
Assyrian.
I don't know. There were Assyrians, of course Assyrians. But I don't know from what church, because Talyashino had some Chaldeans with him also. So when he was arrested, he didn't know our names, but he knew only 2 names, because members didn't know much, more than 2 names. The 2 names that he gave were in Camp Gailani, which was the center of the Assyrians in Baghdad. They arrested them. Under torture, they released our names. They knew our names, the 5 of our names. And they let him out. I think they let him out. They let them out because they confessed and they gave our names. They let them out on bail, kafala, on bail. One of them came by me and said, escape. I said, why? He said, I think they know about you. I said, how do you know? I said, I know they know about you guys. So escape, run away. I said, listen, when I get involved in this, I knew one day I'll be arrested. I knew. So I'm not going anywhere. I'll stay here. If I get arrested, let it be. A week later, in the morning, my father woke me up. I was sleeping on the roof, as we always do in Baghdad. And he said, there are 2 people want to talk to you. So I came down and said, 2 people sitting there. Are you Yousip Canon? I said, yeah. He said, we have some questions to you. I said, come on, ask me questions.
Which year was it, Rabee?
This was September 1st, 1965.
Yeah, please.
September 1. And he said, no, you have to come with us. Then I knew. I said, in my pajama, he said, no, you can go and change. So I changed and I went there. When I was coming down I looked in my backyard and there another man standing there with guns. And in front of my house, there was another one standing with guns, and I knew that I am arrested. So they took me to the secret police headquarters, Al-Amn al-Amma, we call it in Iraq.
Baghdad.
Yeah, in Baghdad. And they put me there. They said, we are going to bring your other guys, your other friends. I said, who? They said, those who sing in the radio. I said, I don't know anybody who sings on the radio. So I said, you will see them. So after an hour or two, I saw another one. So after that, another couple hours or two, another one, and I saw.
Who were they?
They brought Rowell. They brought Sada, and they brought Ishu Dinkha. Georges, they couldn't find him. He fled. And Shamasha was not in Baghdad. Shamasha was in Mosul. So when Shamasha heard about it, he escaped to the north. He joined the fighters with Talyashino. But then they started asking me questions. And I didn't answer. They were asking me about names. I didn't say. They asking me what's the organization about? I said we only do literature, language. We do things that are for printing. That's all. We don't have any political things in our mind. So they start torturing me. My God, torturing me.
What kind of torture, Rabbi, if you don't mind to speak about?
Yeah, it's hard to remember. Really, they hit me with clubs. Sometimes they blinded me and hit me. When they blinded me and hit me, it is very hard because when you are looking, you know where the hit will come. If it's here, you will be ready for it. But you are blindfolded. You don't know where the stick will come. But the worst of them when they put my hands like this behind me and they lifted me. They lifted me with the fan of the room, and I fainted. After all that, I remember they put water on me and I woke up. The torture was very bad.
How long this torture lasted?
It lasted for 30 days, every single day.
Every single day? Every
single day, sometimes at night, sometimes days and nights. Sometimes there was, we were in solitary, which means the room was for one person only, small. And they locked the room. We were out only twice a day to go to the washroom, to the toilet room, and that's it. But after the 30 days, they stopped.
It was everyday torture?
Everyday torture, every single. There are two of them.
Two of them?
Yeah. Mu'an Abdullah, and the other was his assistant. I forgot his name.
They were asking for names
for the
organization.
Yeah, they had some names that they didn't know who they were. And they were asking me, do you know them? And I refused to tell them. I said, I don't know them. And why did you go to Iran? I said, I went to Iran just to visit. What did you do to Iran? I said, anybody goes to Iran for just look around and see the city of Tehran and meet people.
Were they torturing your friends also?
Ishu Dinkha was the friend of Mu'awan who was torturing me. He knew him. So he was not touched. But they tortured Ruwal and they tortured what's his name, Sada Mikhail. Georgis was arrested maybe 10 days after that. And I asked him if they, I didn't see him because he was in a different place.
Did they torture you together?
No, separate. When they take when they take me, they don't take the others. Yeah, so it was torture.
For how long it lasted, Rabee, this torture?
Until I couldn't stand it anymore.
1 month,
maybe,
2 months?
Maybe it was 1 month.
1 month.
After 30 days, on September 30 was the last day that they tortured me. Then they stopped. And I was...
were able to come to visit you?
No.
Or anybody else?
No.
Nobody?
They knew I was in Amn al-Amma, but they were not allowed to come and see me. One night, somebody came, one officer came and told me that they want you in the front office. And I went there, I saw a friend of mine. His name was T. Deyako. He is living now in Arizona. T. Deyako was one of the founders with us of the Assyrian Cultural Club that was denied. He was one of us. But he was not a member of the organization. He was not. He was the friend of the officer who was in charge that night, and he was his friend. And I went inside, so T. said, "Oh, hello, T. And the officer said, speak Arabic, don't speak." So I started speaking Arabic with him. And he asked me, "Do you want anything?" I said, "No, just if you meet my parents, tell them I am okay." And he said, "Do you want to get out?" I said, "Alone?" He said, "Yes, I can arrange that with the officer if you want to get." I said, "Either all of us or I'm not going out by myself." And he said, "Okay." And the officer said, "Okay, if you don't want to get out, what can we do?" So I said, either all four of us out or me alone, I'm not going out. I will stay.
Agreed with that?
He agreed with that. Yeah. He agreed on staying there. He didn't agree to let us all go. No. He said, "No, only you." And I said, "I will stay. If it's only me, I will stay." So I stayed there until the end. We were lucky. There was negotiation between the Iraqi government and the leadership of the Kurdish revolution. There was an agreement. The prime minister of Iraq was Abdurrahman Bazzaz. He was a highly educated man. He was not very good with Assyrians. He hated Assyrians, but he was a highly educated man. He was the dean of the College of Law. And he started negotiating with Barzani. And one of the conditions of negotiation to release all the prisoners who are accused of joining or assisting the revolts. So according to that, I was released. We were released, all of us.
After how many months?
After 3 months and 10 days.
You owe.
They said us, "You can go." We were bailed out, not free, just bailed out. Kafala. We went out with kafala. Yeah. And it was on December 11. December 11 that I was released. From September 1 to December 11. I was released on December 11. All of us, we were released on that day. Me, the Ishu, and Ruel, and Sada. I think Ruel and Sada were released a couple days before us, but we were the last ones. Me and Ishu were the last one to be released from the jail. So I forgot to tell you that I was a teacher in the Assyrian school. I was a teacher in the Assyrian school. There was one Assyrian school in Baghdad named Madrasat Taqaddum Primary School. Assyrian Taqaddum Primary School, that was the name. Madrasat Surai Taqaddum. And it was written in our language, Surai. And Surai, there was an alab, tlaqta, and samchat, waw, resh, yud, zlame. So Surai. Madrasat Surai Taqaddum. I taught there from 1958 to 1965 that was arrested.
How many students did you have at this school?
It was 6, from grade 1 to grade 6 classes. So I was teaching English and math.
Yeah.
I was teaching them English language and math. There was one lady who was teaching, the two ladies, they were teaching Assyrian language. But otherwise, it was all regular curriculum that was taught in other school. That was what we were teaching at that school. It was, they went to the baccalaureate, which was the final. It was from grade 1 to grade 6, actually from kindergarten to grade 6. And I meet many of my students now that are grown up here in America.
Rabee, we go back after 3 months and 10 days, you were in jail. When you went out, when you were free, where did you go?
I stayed home for about a couple of months. Then I decided to go out.
How was the reaction by the Assyrians?
The Assyrians,
you were free?
The Assyrians were they were very happy. My friends were very happy. They hugged me, they kissed me, they shook my hands. They were very enthusiastic that I was free on bail. But I went to there was one club at that time, this Assyrian sports club. But the head of the club told me if I stay away from the club will be better. Because, you know, he said, this is non-political club, and if they know you will be watched. He told me that you will be watched for at least a couple of years. So stay away from the club. I said, okay, so I didn't go to the club. I stopped going to the club.
And what happened to the organization, Hujada?
The organization, unfortunately, those who followed us, they just stopped. They didn't continue. That was the biggest blow to our cause, to our organization. The thing is, I was the Secretary General, and all the documents were in my house. However, on the day they arrested me, my brother, my younger brother, he knew all those, where all those documents were. He took them and burned them.
So you don't have anything else?
He didn't hide them, he burned them. Okay. I had a fight with him after that. Why did you burn them? Why didn't you just dig something and bury them somewhere? Why do you have to burn them? He said, I was afraid. I was afraid, so I burned them. Maybe they come and see it in my house, and I will be in trouble like you are. So he burned them. Unfortunately, those who left after us, they did not continue.
Okay.
And so when I went out, I was not actively in politics, so I started doing something else.
Rabee, you mentioned something important when you started with Hujada, Hirutha. People, they were afraid to speak about and to demand our rights because of the Simele.
Yeah.
In your time, what did you hear about Simele?
My parents told me about that they were living in Mosul at that time. But my father was a policeman, not regular policeman, but the customs policeman, Gumruk. I don't know if Gumruk, they say it the same way. Here we say it custom. So they didn't touch us. And in Mosul, I don't think they touched many people in Mosul. It was in Samele and the village around it. But they told us that they massacred families, complete families, even little children. They just put them in one place and they opened fire with machine guns and guns. And they killed every and each one of them. And in some villages they went also to other villages and they killed them. And there are some Assyrians who were pro-government. They did not recognize that. They did not differentiate between those who are with the government or against the government. You are Assyrian, they shot him. My father told me that a family, he came out with the nationality papers hanged around his neck. He said they shot him through that paper and they killed him. So they killed in any name Assyrian. If you are Assyrian, they shot him. Doesn't matter if you're pro-government or pro-Marshall. Doesn't matter.
So the Simele massacre was 1933, but still people, they were scared to speak about 1965.
Yes.
They said, shh.
Yeah, it reminded them of what happened to us, because they did that to us because the Assyrians were asking for rights, for some kind of recognition of the Assyrians in their lands. That's why they massacred us. They massacred the Assyrians. And Marshimon and some other leaders, they're asking to grant us some kind of autonomy in the villages that we are residing in. It was not against the League of Nations or any other international law, but the government, those nationalists, it was at the time the nationalist people who were ruling Iraq, they didn't like anyone to say anything other than Iraq as Iraqi. That's it. Don't name any. Even they did that with the Kurds too, not only with the Assyrians. They attacked the Barzanis because they were asking for. They attacked Sheikh Hamid from Suleimaniya because he asked for the autonomy. There was the Iraqis were their mentality like the Turks' mentality. What's the name of that? Ittihad wa Taraqi of Turkey. They had the same idea. Some of them were members of that, and they were ruling Iraq. Yeah. So they were very nationalistic, and that's what we were caught like that. Anyway, in early 1940s, there was another organization in Habbaniya under the name of Hujada Aturaya, which was started by a man named Ustamushe, and it spread to other cities like Baghdad. So my brother-in-law, my sister husband, he was a member of that organization. But that organization was only Nestorian, because in their manifesto, yes, Church of the East, as the head will be the head of this organization, we are working under the leadership of Marshimon. So when we started our organization, we wanted them to come with us. We contacted them, but they said, if you don't mention the name of Marshimon in your manifesto, in your bylaws, we will not be with you. And we said, no, we are not a church. We are not members of a church. We are Assyrians. There are some Assyrians who are from other churches. They're Catholic. Some of them are Orthodox. Some of them are Presbyterian. We can't name
Some of them, maybe they are not believers.
Some of them are just atheists. They don't believe in anything. They don't join any church. What can we do? We are fighting national rights. So that was the difference between us and that organization. Anyway, after that, the Iraqis were still asking anyone who applied for citizenship, he must bring a paper or a document that he did not join, he or she did not join the resistance of 1933. I was born in 1942, but when I applied for my citizenship, my father had to bring a paper that I am not part of 1933 uprising, Assyrian uprising. So it was something very funny, that very ridiculous thing.
To whom did you need to give this?
To the authorities who issued to me the nationality, jinsiyya al-Iraqiyya. Yeah, we have to present that. It was something very laughable, the ridiculous thing they were asking us to do.
Rabee, did we miss anything about your education? Can you tell us about your education?
In Diana, we had only up to 6th grade, no more. So when I wanted to go to secondary school, which is mid school, I had to go to Rawandus, which is a qada. And we studied there 2 years. And after that, there was no high school in Rawandus. So we had to go to Erbil. And I went to school for high school in Erbil. At that time, the high school were finished in, it was 5 years. After the elementary school, there were 5 years after that. So not 6 years. Now it's 6 years. But at that time, it was 5 years. So I graduated from high school, and I went to Baghdad to go to the college. At that time, it was the revolution of 1958. And my father has retired. My brothers didn't have job because the company that my brother worked for was kicked out of the country. So I had to go work. So I went and applied for that job at Madrasat Qasha Khandu, and I became a teacher there. During the day, at night I went to college. And the only colleges, there were 2 or 3, and I chose the College of Public Administration, Al-Idara Al-Amma. So I studied 4 years and I graduated. And at that college, they were preparing us to be leaders of government unit, like Qa'im Maqam, like Mudir Nahiya, or to work in the foreign relations. So they taught us political science, they taught us international law, they taught us common law, they taught us even Sharia al-Islamiyya, even they taught us philosophy, they taught us government finance and things like that. So I graduated in 1963. I went to college in 1959 to 1963, 4 years. And I stayed working for the Madrasat Qasha Khandu until I was arrested. After my arrest, they told me you can go back to any school, but not to this school. Qasha Khandu, you cannot go there. Choose another school. So I didn't go to school. I went to an insurance company. I worked for Ta'min Wataniya, which is national insurance company. I worked for them until I came here.
When it was that you wrote many places?
2 plays I wrote them when I was in jail. 2 plays.
What they were about?
One of them was Jean Cocteau. I wrote an eagle with 2 heads. And the other one was Jesus Re-Crucified of Nikos Kazantzakis, the Those two, I finished them when I was in jail. Because I was free time there, I was doing nothing, just writing. So when I came out, I wanted to do some plays. But I don't know any actor. I saw on TV the name of Rabee Yousip. I didn't exactly know if this is Assyrian or no. Rabee Yousip could be non-Assyrian because the Chaldeans don't call themselves Assyrians, or maybe if he's from Mosul, he doesn't speak any Assyrian. But a friend of mine said, oh my God, yeah, I know him, he's our relative. Do you want to talk to him? I said, yes. So he took me to Rabee Yousip's house, and I told him, Romeo, I have plays. Can you direct them? He said, what, in Assyrian language? I said, yes. And he laughed. He said, no, that would be funny. I said, I will do it. So I started with Romeo. He asked me if I can translate two Chekhov plays, The Proposal and the Bear. So I translated those into Assyrian, and we played them with the university. In the university, we had a union of students, of Assyrian students in the university. That we started it when I was at school anyway. And then I had another one. He gave me in Arabic. I said, if you can do it in Assyrian. It was by, gosh, what was the name? It was the name of that was The Partners. And they turned and make it Thieves. It was by a German writer. I forgot his name. So that was, we showed that on the, in the theater that was installed at Assyrian Sports Club. Yeah. Isaac Tuma helped me with that a lot. He built the stage for us. And also I have another friend, Shmail, who was member of the administration of the club. They helped us make a stage. Antonio Yusuf directed that. Was excellent. After that, we went to another organization named Assyrian Welfare. It was a church organization, and we made a play there. The name of the play was no, not Proposal. What was the name of that? It was School for Scandal by Sheridan. And I made it in Assyrian language. And that one, we showed it in Baghdad for 3 days. We went to Kirkuk, we showed it for 2 days. And after we started the Assyrian Cultural Club, we made another couple more plays there. One of them was The Twins, which was by Aeschylus, an ancient Greek writer. I made it into Assyrian. I thought it was very funny play. There was another one that I wrote, was a silent one. It was two fishermen that they hunted, they fished a mermaid, and they fought over it, and it was very funny, that one too. So we produced about 6 plays when I was then. The other one was Doctor in Spite of Him, Tabib Raghman Anhu. And that was directed by Sami Yaqub. It was very, very successful one too. Then I brought to Romeo the one that I wrote in jail, which was Jesus Re-Crucified. But at that time, Romeo was very busy with because she was part of a team, another theater. So there was another director who took it, which was Rabee Yousip. He's now also in Canada. So he worked on it for 8 months. It was a very big one. After 8 months, we were practiced for the final days. We went to the theater, Baghdad Theater, and they gave us Baghdad Theater. We rented it, and we were doing the prova for the last days. And suddenly, I was standing looking at them. A man came, and he asked me, he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "We are making final prova and final show. It will be showed." He said, "What's the name of the show?" I said, "Jesus the Crucified, Masih Yuslab min Jadid." He said, "You are not gonna present it. You are not gonna show it." I said, "What?" He said, "I swear, if you show this play, all of you, I'll put you in jail."
Who was he?
He said, "I am from secret police, and it is forbidden. This play, you cannot show it." After 8 months of prova, those people were tired, ready to show. And he said, "If you show it," so I said, "Okay, guys, stop it." I said, "What happened?" I said, "We cannot show it." This guy was from the Amn al-Amma, which is secret police, and he threatened that you will all go to jail. So forget it. So we couldn't shoot. Until today, I wish if somebody will take this play and work it. I'll be very happy if I see it on the stage, this play. I hope one day they will show it there. So this is my other thing that the play that I did. Because I was out, then it came the Assyrian Cultural Club. I will tell you the story of the Assyrian Cultural Club, the second one. In 1969, the government of Baghdad made an openness like perestroika that they did in Russia, perestroika. Openness on all political factors, powers in Iraq. And at that time, a man who was the head of the church committee, he was also, I think he was maybe close to where Hormuz used to be. His name was Paul Smarwan. Paul Smarwan was the head of the Assyrian Church Council. He said, somebody want to talk to us. He was sent by President of Iraq, Ahmed Hassan Bakr, and he wanted to talk to us. So I want you to come with me, because I don't know anyone else who can speak better than you do. I said, okay, I'll come with you. I'll talk to him. And we agreed to go to the house of Ish Askar. He was one of the members of that organization. And the man asked me, he said, what are your complaints? What are the Assyrians' complaints? What do you want from the government to do it for you? And I said, first of all, you tell me, what do you know about Assyrians? So I can tell you what you want. Here's all what I know, that you were brought here by the British, and you worked for the British, and you revolted against the monarchy, against the government of Iraq in 1933, and King Ghazi massacred you. That's all what I know about you. And I said, do you know that we have our own language? He said, I never heard it. I said, have you heard anybody speaking Assyrian in the TV or on the radio? He said, no. I said, have you seen any magazine or any newspaper in Assyrian language? He said, you have a language written? I said, of course we have. I said, no, I have never seen that. I said, and you are asking me what do you want? I said, this is what we want. I said, Marshamoon, who was kicked out of Iraq in 1933, You brought back Mullah Mustafa, who fought against Iraq. You brought him back. But Mar Shimon, our church leader, he is still in exile in America. Why? I said, why we don't have any school, official school, government school, that teach Assyrian language? Why there are schools that teach Arabic and Kurdish? Why not Assyrian language? So he was taking notes. Whatever I say, he was taking notes. And I said, we want a magazine. We want a magazine in our language. We want a newspaper in our language. We want radio in our language. And he was taking notes. And that was it. So after that, I told my friends, I said, now it's time to apply for an Assyrian Cultural Club. I think they will give it to us. So we contacted, we met 11 people. I said, it should be 11, not 10. According to the law, it is 10. But I said, make them 11, because I'm not going to sign it. They said, why? They said, if they saw my name on the application, it will be rejected, because I have applied before and it was rejected. So my name will not be there. So the 10 of us, we put our bylaws and we applied it to the government. And we got our application approved in 1970. The Assyrian Cultural Club, Shotaputa Mardutaneta Aturai in Baghdad, I and some others share me the idea that it was a revolution in the Assyrian community in Baghdad. Why? Because, as I said before, we want a center somewhere where our intellectuals get together. The Assyrian Cultural Club, the membership, to be accepted to be member, you should be at least high school graduate. Otherwise, you can't be a member. So all the intellectuals were there. And we made plays, we had lectures, we made picnics, and from that club, two political organizations were born. The Assyrian Patriotic Party and the Zawa. They were both from that club. They met and they created the Zawa and this club. So it was a revolution. As I said, it was. We did many good things from that club. Until 1980 or 81, when the government took over. Saddam Hussein took it over. I left Iraq in 1977 for my honeymoon. I'll tell you this. I got married in October 1977. I left Iraq for my honeymoon. While in my honeymoon, I got a letter from home telling me that the secret police are looking for you. Again. So there was a quarrel between me and my bride, my wife, my love of my life, whether I should go back or no. I wanted to go back. I said, I have been there once, they will beat me up again, so what? But she said, no, those are Baptists. If you go in, you will not go out. So she was afraid. We decided to come to America. I came here at the planet.
Which year was this, Rabbi?
1977.
I came to Chicago.
We came to Chicago. We applied for a political asylum. It was not approved immediately, but after 10 years, it was approved. Yeah.
Rabbi, from your childhood, you were affected by some good friends.
Yes.
To be interested on the Assyrian cause.
Yeah.
You were the founder of one important organization. Until now, you are interested on everything that is about Assyrians.
Yes.
And I have a good friend of mine, Fred Apren, told me to ask you a question. What do you think about the role of the Assyrian churches on the national movement in Iraq and their relationship with KRG, Kurdistan Regional Government?
I wish I was in Iraq so I can answer this question more in depth. From what I hear, always churches are pro-government. They're pro-governments. Churches are always with governments. They are not with people, all churches. Whether government, central government of Iraq or the government of the north. It is sad that the governments always want to talk to churches, not to people. Why? Because they can manipulate, they can control the church people easier than talking to organization or political organization. It's easier to control a patriarch than to control a political organization. So that's why the government always go and deal with the churches, not with the people, not with political organization. They wish if there are no political organization. That's why the only thing that I can remember our churches was when the Church of the East, the leadership of Mar Benjamin Shimon, who revolted against the government, and we get where we are now. At the time, well, let me say this. Maybe we are more than 100 years away from that time. But according to what my imagination of today, it's just imagination. Just imagine if the Church of the East, the Chaldean Church, the Syrio Church of Tur Abdin, if the leaders of the three churches got together in 1915, 1916, 1917, got together and they revolted as one power, I think, or they worked together, I think we would have got something. I don't know what, but we have got something. But when a church by itself, our church only by itself, revolted, only Church of the East, the other church says, this is not our fight. When they massacred the Nestorians, they called the Nestorians, the Assyrians were the Nestorians, the Catholic, the Chaldeans, they said, this is not our fight. Well, let me say that there are some Catholic sanctuaries, some Catholic cities like Al-Qush that I know. They harbored, they took some of our Assyrian families and hid them there. They were like our place to hide. Not only Al-Qush, but there are some others that they told me others, but I don't know which. But I know for sure because I know a friend of mine who was from Al-Qush, and he said, our family harbored some Assyrians in our house at the time. So, but the church, as leader of the church, they said, this is not our fight. When we fight as one, it is great. But you're not fighting as one. Malfano, we are not fighting as one. We are fighting as many. Not only churches. Now Mr. Fed is only churches, but not only churches. Even as individuals, we are not fighting as one. And we are not fighting for the right thing. Among ourselves, we are fighting over what do we call ourselves. Our biggest fight, do we call ourselves Assyrians or Chaldeans or Suryayo or Suraya or Aturaya or Ashuraya? And our fight, this fight is more material to our people than fighting for a land. If we can agree on fighting for a land, we can agree on it. Even the churches will agree on it. If we forget about our name, just name us whatever you name. You call yourself Suraya, call yourself Suraya. Suryoyo, say Suraya. But there's a land. Let us put a land. Let us say Dishtut Ninwe. For example, let's fight for Dishtut Ninwe. Not to be our for Assyrians, no, but Dishtit Nineveh to be governorate or an administrative unit separate from Mosul, separate from Duhok, separate from Erbil. This is a place that the people who are inhabiting Dishtit Nineveh will rule Dishtit Nineveh. Assyrians, Christians, Shabak, Yazidis, Turkmen who are living there. We all make Dishtit Nineveh a unit, an administrative unit, and let us fight for it. I assure you, a nation, when they have an aim, something we aim at, they can unite. But if we have no aim, how we unite on what? On the Assyrian nation or on Chaldean nation? Go to Ankawa.com, it's in Arabic, you cannot read it, but I read it, I go crazy. They're fighting over Chaldean or Assyrian or Syria or Suryoyo or what? Or are we one nation or three nations? I was reading an article by somebody saying that we are three nations. We are the nation of Assyrian, we are the nation of Chaldean, we are the nation of Syriani, Orthodox. In a speech that I gave in Detroit on Martyr Day, I said, why do we have the name of nationality in our churches? Why should be the Chaldean church? Why not the Catholic church? Why do we have the Assyrian church? It should be the Church of the East. Why should we have the Syriani church, the Orthodox church? So Orthodox, Chaldean, and Nestorian or whatever you call it, Assyrian, whatever you call it, and all of them have the name East on it. Catholic Church of the East, Orthodox of the East, Assyrian of the East. That's it. So we can at least start from there. I think, and then, our aim should be land. We fight for a land, and that land is Dishtit Nineveh. If we can put that in my mind, if you don't have an aim that you all agree on, we will always be divided. We are divided, Malfona. We are divided geographically. Look, all around the world, there are Assyrians. We don't have a land. The Assyrians live here. Yazidis, we can tell, they live here. Kurds, they live there. The Shabak, but there's no place that the Assyrians live on. No.
Rabbi, we can continue this, and I have many questions in my mind, but I would like to ask you the last question that I have. You were born in Afra, in your village. When you were a teenager, you were involved in the Assyrian club. You are the founder of the organization Hujada and Hirutha, and you pay a lot of price. You were tortured in jail, and then you struggle a lot, you fight a lot all your life. In 1977, and you paid the price to leave your country, homeland, and you came to Chicago, and now we are in Las Vegas. Do you have any regret feeling for what you have done all this?
No. If I will born again, I will go through the same way. My nationality and my religion, both of them, we fight for the oppressed. And there is no nation that's oppressed more than the Assyrians. There's no nation that's oppressed than the Assyrians. And any person who believes in Jesus Christ and in God, he will fight for our cause. Anyone, even if he's not Assyrian, will fight for our cause. I was on my way from Urmi on bus to Tehran. Next to me was sitting a man. I knew that he was an Assyrian, and he was a priest. But he was a Sabbatist. What do they call them? The Sabbatist, Shabtaya, we call them Shabtaya. And he told me, I am a priest. I'm not supposed to be involved in politics. But Jesus Christ asked me to help the oppressed. And because Assyrians are oppressed, that's why I am nationalist, because I have to fight for the Assyrians, because they are the oppressed people.
Ladies and gentlemen, and they killed us in 1915. They committed genocide against Assyrian people. They did a massacre in 1933, 2014, ISIS, and many other massacres against our people. They killed our people. They took our land. They took our houses. They destroyed our language. They destroyed our culture. And they created many problems among our nations, being Chaldanaya, Suraya, Assyrian, Suryaya, whatever. But despite all this, despite all these affiliations, we are one nation, one people, and still we have a hope and we have a dream, and don't let them to take our dreams. Thank you very much, Rabee. Thank you.
30 seconds.
30. Pasimara. And before to come to the end, and this interview will be broadcasted by the Assyrian all around the world. And thank you very much for my friend Hermes Hasso.